is Summaya Salman, and I am an AP capstone candidate at the Lister Collegiate Institute, where I conduct a year-long research on a topic of my choice under the guidance of Mr. Michael Middleton and Dr. Valerie Oosterveld. My research focuses on how the systemic barriers that are put together by the global north that are currently stopping the global south from having a meaningful voice in the process of extraterrestrial mining be lifted. There is only a finite number of natural resources on Earth. Eventually, they will be difficult to access and in turn become more expensive. But a solution to this problem could be found in space. Celestial bodies contain precious minerals such as nickel, gold, magnesium, oxygen, iron, and platinum in large quantities that can be mined and brought back to the Earth. This new information has created a race to space between developed countries and their private entities to acquire these resources for their own benefit. However, the problem is that while the developed countries or the global north prepare for their mission into space, there are a number of systemic barriers in place that allow them to ignore the voices of other actors such as the developing countries or the global south that would also like to participate in this process. This injustice began way before this topic was even talked about. The Global South weren't given many rights during the creation of the Outer Space Treaty because they were called legally uneducated. However, after fighting for it, they did receive 2 articles that became the main articles of the Outer Space Treaty. Although these articles do talk about free use and exploration, as well as non-appropriation, they do not stop countries from using natural resources for their own benefit, from claiming any part of space as their own, and do not encourage countries to share their own resources. On top of that, the rules that are provided are interpreted differently to benefit the powerful countries that no one can disagree with. For example, there's a debate about whether the resources in space can be owned or not. The powerful countries such as the US think they can, however, the developing countries disagree with this interpretation. The COP-US will take years to establish a legal regime due to its complication. Therefore, my research will be adding a suggestion on how these countries can have a voice during the process of extraterrestrial mining. In order to study this topic, I will be using the legal doctrinal method. This will allow me to look at the systemic barriers, use the framework on the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, and compare that to the Paris Agreement for Climate Change to determine what can be learned from the way that they set up their treaty and apply that to the Outer Space Treaty. My topic is important to research due to this already formed gap between the developing and the developed countries that may increase to an irreversible amount if there are no equitable outcomes. This may result in higher poverty rates, higher crime rates, worse living conditions, and overall an unhappy population in the developing countries.